Are the Miami Heat contenders to win the NBA championship this season, or are they pretenders? We will find out in today's episode. Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat basketball channel. My name is Amir. Before I get into the video, I just want to thank everybody for their continued support of my channel. I'm on my path to 1,000 subscribers and getting very close. So if you guys could subscribe to the channel, that would mean a lot. I'm also going to do a giveaway once I get to 1,000 subscribers to thank everybody for their support. So I'm thinking of doing two different giveaways. One will be for folks that actually live in Miami or close to it. And then I know there are a lot of Heat fans like myself who live outside of Florida. So I'll have a giveaway for you guys specifically as well. So if you guys could subscribe again, that would be awesome. Thanks again. So the Miami Heat are currently on a 3-game losing streak, and they're coming off one of their worst losses, or if not their worst loss in the NBA season, after losing to the Washington Wizards at home. The Wizards are arguably and maybe even literally the worst team in the NBA next to the Detroit Pistons. And so the Miami Heat now are 35-29 and are currently in 8th place in the Eastern Conference, which is horrible. The Miami Heat are injured and shorthanded currently. We know that. Tyler Hero and Kevin Love are both out. We've had so many guys injured and in and out of our lineup. That's the story of the Miami Heat in the past 5 years. And Tyler Hero specifically has missed the most games, and he's one of our most important players. He's missed 28 games this season and has missed like 6 or 7 in a row with a new injury. And we desperately need him back. We need all of our players healthy, especially our third best player and second best scorer. And if not, maybe our best offensive player overall. So we need him. And this Miami Heat team, their offense has been struggling mightily. And again, we could use Tyler Hero. I'm not saying we needed him to beat the Wizards because that's pathetic. If we couldn't beat, which we didn't, beat the Wizards with Jimmy, Terry, Bam, Jaime, Duncan, you name it. Our team was stacked enough to beat the worst team in the NBA. So, but we do miss Tyler, and we do miss Kevin Love as well. You can see how important Kevin Love is coming off our bench in our front court. He provides stability with our rebounding. He provides the ability to spread the floor and hit three-pointers. So we're missing him as well. But still, tired of the injury excuses. The Miami Heat, they have 18 games left this season, and they're running out of time simply. They need to figure out how they can improve offensively, and Spo needs to stop tinkering so much with his rotations. And he needs to solidify and figure out whose core rotation is going to be for the remainder of the season and then for the playoffs, because we know the rotations are going to get even tighter come playoff time. And so, again, injuries are a big variable of why the Miami Heat are in the 8th seed at this moment. So I can't bypass that. But that's not the only variable. But again, Heroes missed 28, Jimmy 19, Bam 12, Caleb Martin 15, Jay Rich is out for the season. Like we've had a lot of folks miss games, but other teams deal with injuries too. So it's part of basketball, especially in the playoffs. The luck factor of being healthy is a huge variable outside of obviously stepping up and playing your best basketball against the best competition come playoff time. And we know the Heat are capable of doing that. And we know that is because of Jimmy Butler. We go as far as he takes us. But does he have enough help right now? And let's look at the offensive stats real quick just to show and highlight some of their struggles right now. So as you can see here, the Miami Heat are 22nd in offensive rating at 114.1. So that means they could score 114.1 points per 100 possessions, which is not good. This is really bad, honestly. 8th worst in the NBA. Defensive rating, we all know that the Miami Heat is a better defensive team than they are offensively. They've improved drastically over the past month and a half on that end, but they're 8th, 113.5. That's good. Not great, but it's really good. So our defense is stepping up, as we know, and our offense needs to provide that relief for the defense who's providing stops, who are shutting down other teams to a certain degree. And the Heat's offense is simply letting the team down at this moment. You can see the Heat are 27th in points per game. In this day and age where offenses are more favorable than defense, that is horrible for a contending team. If this is a contending team, you can't be 27th in scoring. Like, you simply can't. You need to be like in the 15 range or 16, 17 at worst. And we're at 27 points, or 27 in terms of points per game. And the Heat are also 28th in field goals made. They simply are not scoring enough to win games against the good and elite teams. And even the mid-level teams, which is super frustrating. The Heat's record, as I've mentioned before, against the top 4 East teams this season and the top 4 West teams is 2-13. That's abysmal. Like, that's not good enough. You're simply not beating them in the regular season. What makes you think you're going to beat these teams? Luckily, we don't have to play 4 West teams. But what do you think how are you going to beat these teams if you're struggling in the regular season? You can't just always flip a light switch. It's not Shaq and Kobe, when Shaq would say that back in the day when he was one of the most dominant players ever. Like Jimmy Butler, sorry, really good player, but he's not Shaq dominant. So what can we do, honestly, to turn this around against these teams? I don't know. And also, here's another stat. The Miami Heat are also struggling against 500 teams. We're 14-20 versus teams that are 500 and above. That's bad. Simply not good. And the rest, so obviously we're beating the teams that are sub 500, which every contending team or good team should do. But the Heat are barely beating those teams that are below 500. We don't have the ability to blow out teams because our offense is not good enough. That's not a recipe for winning a championship. Let's look further into some other numbers as well that I've mentioned in plenty other episodes. So if we look back on the last 40 seasons, according to this Reddit post, I also looked at the last 4 champions, so that also applies to them as well. But every team for the last 40 years has ranked either top 5 in defense, offense, or both, with only 3 outliers. So 37 on this list, but 41 out of the 44 have been either top 5 in both or one or the other. And so if we're looking down at this list, 2020 Lakers, who that was the bubble year, they beat the Heat, weren't the best offensively, 11th, still much better than the Heat right now, which are 22. They're still 3rd defensively, and they had LeBron and AD. Look at the Raptors, 5-5. Warriors, 3-11. 1-2. 3-10. 2-1. Let's scroll all the way down to the 2000s right here. You can see there's a few outliers, which we'll get into, but 2nd-7. 2-21. Wow. The 2001 Lakers were 21st in defense. That's surprising. But guess what? They had Shaq and Kobe. So who cares at this point? I'm sorry, Jimmy, you're not on the level of either Shaq or Kobe, even though I hate the Lakers. But just look back down here. The Bulls 1st and 4th, 1st and 1st, 7th and 12th. So look, there are some that are in double digits, but again, there's outliers. Here are the 3 outliers. So one is the 2011 Mavericks, who beat our Miami Heat. That year was horrible. They were 8th offense, 8th defense. So that's one outlier. But look, there were 2 top 10. They were top 10 in both. They had Dirk Nowitzki, Hall of Famer, Jason Terry, Jason Kidd, Hall of Famer, Caron Butler. Like, they had Sean Marion. They were a deep team. I know they still shouldn't have beat the Heat, but still, that's one outlier. They were top 10 in both. 2006 Miami Heat. The other outlier, 7th on offense, 9th on defense. Another trend. Top 10 in both. They're not 22 in offense. They're 7th. The other outlier would be the 95 Rockets. 7th in offense, 12th in defense. Okay? So almost top 10 in both. But they had Hakeem, who was an MVP that season. One of the best centers of all time. The only reason they won in 94 and 95 also is because Michael Jordan retired. Like, come on, let's be real. Those Bulls teams would have been dominant. So if you look around, though, 15th offensive rating, that was huge for the Rockets, winning the championship in 1994, but they were 2nd in defense. So you have to be really elite either in defense or in offense. And the Miami Heat are not elite in either. I mean, 8th in defense is great, is good, but it's not elite. And if we look at some other numbers, the worst offensive rated team to win a championship was the '04 Pistons, 18th. But again, they were second. This is a Hall of Fame team, one of the best defenses in the world, one of the best defenses of all time, even though they were just second, not number one, but still, they broke up Kobe and Shaq. So let's look again on just any of the double digits. There, it's rare, but again, if they're 11, they're 3. If they're 3, they're 11. Like, you have to be a really good offensive team or defensive team or both, and it's mostly both. So anyway, that based on these numbers, the Miami Heat don't look like a contending team. You can't win according to these metrics, and numbers don't lie typically. You need to be a better team, and this is not true for the Miami Heat right now. As of today, if you ask me today, the Miami Heat are not contenders. How could we be contenders? We're the 8th seed. We're the 8th seed right now, one of the worst offensive teams in the NBA. Yes, we've got Jimmy Butler and Himmy Butler. Yes, he's taken us to the finals twice. He's also taken us to the Eastern Conference Finals, one shot away from making it 3 final trips. But again, it's nice. I'm happy. And we're privileged to have a team that gets that far, but they haven't won. So what does it matter? Ultimately, it's all about winning, right? So that's one thing. But another thing that I've mentioned also in lots of other videos, and I'm going to be repetitive, and I'm sorry, I'm going to keep saying this until the Miami Heat improve and figure this crap out and learns how to be a better regular season team, because seeding matters. But again, sorry for being repetitive. But in the last 77 NBA seasons, 51 of those teams that won were the number 1 seed. Okay, so let me share my screen one last time here real quick. And bear with me. Sorry. Here we go. Let's look at the numbers. So 51 of those teams were the first seed out of 77. That's 70%. That's huge. You have to be elite in the regular season to translate over to win an NBA Finals. You can't be an 8th seed. Why? Because it's never happened. Is it impossible? No. I keep saying that. Are the Miami Heat a team that could possibly do this with Jimmy Butler and be the first? Possibly. But it is very, very unlikely. Look, 2nd seed, 16 championships, 2nd seed. 3rd seed, 8. 4th seed, 1 time. Only one 4 seed has ever won. 6th seed, Houston Rockets, the year Michael Jordan retired. 1 time. Look at the teams that have made it to the finals. A 3rd seed only 8 times, 4th seed only 4 times, 5th seed once, 6th seed once, 8th seed twice. Miami was one of those teams, but we simply weren't good enough last year. What makes you think we're better? Because we have Hawkes, because we have Jovic in the rotation. Like, we're the same team. Like, it's not good enough and it's not working. So is it impossible? No. Again, I'm a huge Miami Heat fan. I love my team, but I don't think this roster is constructed to win a championship, especially against a team in the West. I don't think we could beat the Nuggets. They're elite. They're dominant. Can we beat the Celtics? Maybe. Is it likely? Probably not. Am I optimistic? Of course I am. Screw the Celtics. But still, they're dominating right now. The Nuggets and the Celtics are dominant teams. They're in this upper echelon right here of seeds that are going to make it to the finals. So again, you think the Miami Heat are ready to play a play-in game, be the 8th seed or 7th seed and make another finals run? Possibly, but is it likely? No, it's not, because teams that make it to the finals are almost always the 1st and 2nd seed, and the teams that always win are the 1st and 2nd seed, with the exception of the 3rd seed. So what do you guys think about these numbers? Do numbers lie? Do you guys believe in this Miami Heat team? Do you think we're good enough after losing to the Wizards last night at home and scoring only 108 points against one of the worst defenses in the NBA? A team that allowed 8 consecutive opponents on the road score 130 above? I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, I'm just looking at the numbers. I'm just being a realistic, non-delusional Miami Heat fan, because we have a lot of you guys out there, which is fine. I'm delusional at times too. I go back and forth. This team is Jekyll and Hyde, like I've said many times, but they're also fool's gold at this point. They could be golden. They could be up, beating good teams, going on win streaks, and then they go on a losing streak like this. And it's tough. It makes you scratch your head. Like, if we beat Dallas and if we beat Thunder on the road back-to-back games and held our 15-point leads that we had against both of them, I might be having a different conversation right now. But nothing changes ultimately when you look at all the stats that I showed you, whether it's seeding, right? Even if the Miami Heat were the 6th seed, it's still highly unlikely they may even make the finals, let alone win the finals. And the other issue is offensive rating. We're 22. In order to win a championship, you need to be a top offensive team or a top defensive team. So unless our defense can somehow become the second best defense from the rest of the season and throughout the playoffs, it's going to be still very likely because, again, no other team in the 20s has ever won. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think I'm crazy basing this on numbers and data? Do you think I'm crazy and think that I don't have enough faith in the Heat, or do you think I'm right? Do you guys think the Miami Heat are pretenders right now? Because I think they are. But again, my perspective and thoughts can change based on proving it to me. So seeing is believing, as I always say. But yeah, it's frustrating, man. It's hard to be a Heat fan right now. They're so up and down, so inconsistent, so injury prone. But we have time. Hopefully, we have 18. With all that said, we have 18 games. Hopefully, Spo can figure it out. We have the best coach in the NBA. We have Jimmy Butler, who's one of the best playoff performers in the NBA. We have Bam Adebayo, who's one of the best two-way players in the NBA. We have two really good guards in Hero and Rozier who can score. We just need to figure it out. Is there still time? I hope. We'll see. But anyway, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments. Do you think the Miami Heat are contenders still, or are they pretenders? Thanks for watching.